What's good? You're listening to Culture Quest, where we ask the question, why are we like this? On this podcast, we explore culture, but culture that's specific to us, as Black people, as Caribbean people, as Bahamians. That's what we're doing today. I'm MCK, and I'm here with the homie from time, Jay, and our boy Proof. And we're going to talk all things us, and that's definitely a lot to talk about. As always, shout out to the Solid Network. And we also have like a very super special guest with us today. Very excited about it. We have with us a real culture expert. Literally, she's an anthropologist, a poet, an author, a playwright, among lots of other things. A Bahamian icon in my mind. And she's here today with us to help us explore a very Bahamian topic. Dr. Nicollette Bethel is our guest. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm honored.
Awesome. You were like the second guest we've had on so far. So
yeah, it ain't much.
Ain't much. We really appreciate it.
They didn't tell me that was you asked me. I thought.
But yeah, today's episode is brought to you by the Chickcharney, the missed opportunity for the national bird of the Bahamas. But no, seriously, today we're talking about Bahamian superstition. We're talking about the things that we believe. Are we superstitious people? Do we not buy into those things anymore? Or are we evolved? Or, what role does superstition play in how we see ourselves and all of that? But before we get into that, we'd like to start every podcast with some show and prove. Like I said, the show is about us and us being Bahamians. We like to prove. We know what we're talking about by pulling your Bahamian card. So I let Proof start off today. What's your Bahamian proof point?
If you started on the island,
I gotta stick. I have a track record, and I'm gonna stick to it. I'm gonna preface this by saying, if you have not experienced island life, you are missing out, gentlemen and lady. Mm-hmm. You're missing out. All right, you're missing out. So back in the day,
Ministry of Tourism.
Back in the day, I literally used to go fishing on the rocks, like literally hand line, and not even like new hand line, like pieces of scrap line that you find wrap around a stick. Wow. And then sinkers was a little scarce back in the day, so you have to use pebbles and stuff as weight for the line.
Wow,
good old days. Literally used to go on the rocks, pick your wilks for bait. Good to go, bro.
So just to clarify, you used to go fishing and not fishing. You used to go fishing.
No, not fishing. Fishing it, correct. You heard correctly.
On the rocks.
Fishing it on the rocks.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
What you got, Jay?
My one pretty simple today. I know when Market Street used to be two-way.
You go way back.
Yeah.
Simple enough.
Okay. And Dr. Nicollette, what do you?
Well, I got to pick. I don't know. I don't know. Well, the Bethels came in on the William in 1643.
You already win.
That's
you know, right?
So there's that one.
Okay.
But I also remember when I was a kid. I don't know, it's not so much of this anymore, but when you used to get the Ponciana pot and you used to take the seed in there and you used to scrape it on the ground and then burn people with it. You're too young for that, right?
Oh,
so Island. I see that.
Proof should know.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you just used to go around burning people with it?
Yeah. Well, you didn't used to go around burning people because it doesn't stay hot that long. But your friends would be right there. So you're just like...
They get catch. Okay.
Jeez.
All right. Okay, well, my Bahamian point for the day is I have toted from every sort of event known to man, talking weddings, wakes, church functions, bar mitzvahs, baby shower, let's go on. Like I've probably touched every sort of event when it comes to toting. So
they let you tote from bar mitzvahs, though.
I mean, as a Bahamian, I can find a way. So
Yo, hold on. Before we go on, since we talking about toting, and I pray I don't get nobody in trouble. Mm-hmm. Allegedly, I had a family member who toted like from the buffet. So with the buffets over here, you can't take food. So what they did is they take like, 4 lobster tails and like put it in the popcorn box. So they used to like
Wow.
So like they walk out like they was taking popcorn,
Pretty good.
and it was but 4 lobster
pretty
tails
good.
in there. Allegedly, I had a family
Alleged.
member who did that.
I
She
feel
told me.
like
Allegedly.
you say family member, but you mean yourself. That's what I get.
I mean, but moving on.
Moving on, yeah. So basically, we know what we're talking about, folks, when we talk about Bahamian culture, but more specifically, one of us really know what we're talking about. What exactly is an anthropologist? Like, walk us through what that discipline even is, really.
So anthropology is the study of human beings in general. I'm a social and cultural anthropologist, so I'm talking about living human beings in groups. I'm not doing like dead humans. I'm not bones.
Right.
So we look at living human beings in groups, and we look at non-Western societies mainly. Sociologists will deal with urban, European, North American societies. Anthropologists is everybody else.
Okay, that's super interesting. Like, how did you even know you wanted to pursue that?
I didn't know. I once upon a time they were giving a scholarship for history related subjects, and I didn't want to do history, so I said I want to do anthropology instead. I don't want to deal with documents, I want to deal with people. And then I discovered that there was a lot more to the subject than I thought there was, and it was very, very cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's dope.
Like, do you know 5 other Bahamian anthropologists?
No, not
No?
5, 3.
Wow. Yeah.
And how long you been doing it, Doc?
See, now that would be telling. I've been doing it since I started my studies in 1992. It took me a little while to get my PhD. It took me a long time. But I have been an anthropologist since the turn of the century. So
Yeah, that works. That works for us.
Cool.
So yeah, today we're talking about
That means
superstition.
you know your stuff.
Yeah, you know what you're talking about.
Hopefully.
One of us has a doctor. So we're talking about superstition, right? Like, and just to give the quick Google definition that I found was that a superstition is a widely held but unjustified belief in supernatural causation leading to certain consequences of an action or event. Right? Jay, you want to try to interpret that in Bahamian form?
The Bahamian is it's when the spirits they're moving. When the spirits they're moving, and you can tell they're moving because they do certain things.
That's all right.
If you told you pulling a knife, we know what caused that.
What's going on?
And like different other situations, different other actions, different other characteristics, things of that nature.
The last off was interesting, but yeah. So like I feel like there's a thin line between being superstitious and being like religious or spiritual. Would you agree with that, Doctor?
You talking to me or you talking to Jay?
I'm talking to you. Like, would you agree that there's a thin line between supernatural, superstition, and like spirituality, for instance?
Well, it would all depend on who you're talking to, right? Like, if you're talking to somebody who is very committed and Christian, they will say, no, there's a big distinction between, spiritual belief and superstition. Superstition is a lie. Spiritual belief is the truth. But they both deal with worlds beyond the material that you cannot really prove with evidence.
Right, because so this definition is like unjustified belief in supernatural causation. Like it's pretty close.
It's pretty close, but see, as an anthropologist, my question is always like, what do we use to justify, right? So anthropologists make a habit of not dismissing what people believe until you give it a little while before you dismiss what anybody believes, basically. You take your time.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know that I can't say for sure that what we believe superstitiously is not actually true, right?
Right. Yeah. That's a good point. Because I was going to ask, what do y'all consider yourselves superstitious? Like anybody?
I don't think
Before
so.
you answer that question,
Yeah.
and to piggyback off of MCK's last question, right? Doc, would you say that most superstitious events are rooted in supernatural or paranormal activity?
A lot of superstition is rooted in supernatural or paranormal activity. Some of it is possibly not. But yeah, I would say most of it is. So I'm trying to think of something that wouldn't be. It'll come to me. Some people, for example, I have a lot of medical doctors in my family, and medical doctors will tell me that my other grandmother's confidence in bush medicine is superstition, right? I am not sure about that. I'm not sure that they just haven't tested it the right way. But so I'd say, yeah, 80 to 90% would be rooted in supernatural activity, but some superstition is not. Some superstition is rooted in the natural world. Like,
Right.
A combination of leaves will cure X, Y, and Z.
Got it.
Yeah, that's a good example. Like that Sarasi versus the leaf.
Right. Sarasi versus aspirin, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting. So like y'all say y'all ain't superstitious, but like you would sleep in a graveyard?
Oh, I didn't say I
No.
was superstitious. I said I never answered that question.
Okay, yeah. But you consider yourself
I mean-
a superstitious person?
Do I? No, I don't consider myself a superstitious person.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't disbelieve in ghosts. Like, I believe dead people could talk to living people somehow. I'm not scared of the graveyard. I don't know if I would sleep in the graveyard, but I don't know that I would sleep anywhere outside and also if I could help it.
I second that.
Right?
Definitely
I
second
don't
that.
think dead people I scared of in the graveyard.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
okay.
might be the safest there.
I might. Well, it depends on the graveyard, right? If they know
What
you or
gotta
not.
do it. That's funny.
Yeah, I wouldn't say
Yeah,
that
I
I'm
know.
superstitious either.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've had some superstitious events or circumstances happen to me, but I wouldn't say that I am superstitious. Example, superstition would say that if you sleep on your back, the likelihood of you getting hagged or having nightmares is great.
Yeah.
Science says that's sleep paralysis. I don't know.
Yeah.
I experience it, and yeah,
It feel
that
like
was
you get
scarier than
mad.
science could explain.
It could be both. It could be both.
Yeah.
Science is telling
Yeah.
you what your body is doing. It's not
Right.
telling you what the other part of you is doing, right?
That is true.
Right?
Yeah.
Science explains what your body does, but it doesn't necessarily touch anything else, and it doesn't have the ability to deal with the explanations that we give to things that we can't explain.
Yeah. I definitely I wrestle with that too, like the hag thing. My whole life was like, oh, I get hag. And then I remember like reading about, sleep paralysis, and I was like, oh, but it still
Makes
feels
sense.
like I was getting hag.
That's what
It's
that is.
Right.
But like you say, it could be both. Maybe sometimes it is sleep paralysis, and sometimes I get hag. I don't know.
Or you could be getting hag and science is showing you what your body is doing while you're getting hag, right?
While you're getting hacked. Yeah.
So that's really interesting for real. Like, I guess I want to get into like what's some of the superstitions that we know about in our culture, and like, but I want to like sort of lead with what's the most ridiculous superstition that you would consider like, oh man, that's intense.
Okay, hold on now. I got to think about that. Y'all could come up with something. I got to think about this. What is the most
a lightweight one that I had, it was recent, was when they were saying like a spirit was going around. So in order for you to be protected from the spirit, you had to put like a red tie or something on your door, and that was big in the religious community.
That would be,
I can't remember
recent?
which. Yeah, but
I've seen it circulating.
I can't remember
which social media.
Which pastor say it or what's not, but it's there like spirit going around. So the red thing on your door like would protect you.
The PLB spirit.
But to
the red
to piggyback off of that though, I remember growing up, they used to tie like a black string on the infants keep the spirits away.
That's right. Yeah.
Like this literally happened to my cousin. Like he would wake up in the middle of the night hollering and screaming, and my grandmother she came in the room one night and tied this black string around his wrist. And I'm thinking, like, what if he's really being attacked by spirit? What a piece of string supposed to do? You know?
That's another thing. Like, I think, first of all, I've heard stories that I had like the black thing on me too, right?
Yeah.
But like, I think there's a lot of like superstitions we hear about, a lot of myths and folklore and things that we hear about, but we don't know like the backstory to it, or like what's the rationale between. Because for instance, like the salt thing, I don't know if you hear about like if you leave salt at the door, right? And I heard that my whole life, like that'll ward off spirits. And then I heard like later, I heard like the idea is the spirits would spend the night picking up each grain of salt, so that was basically distract them. And so I always heard the salt thing, but never heard like the deeper, like the rationale behind the sort of story.
So yeah, no, go ahead.
No, before you go, Doc, I just feel like the one thing in our culture is that we don't question certain things. So is there like a lot of superstitious things that probably didn't make sense back then? They just pass out, and like we never really sit down and say, I wonder why.
Yeah, what I was going to say is that for me, the more specific something is, the more I distrust it, right? If it's more general, right? If it's more general and widespread, then I'm not going to question it quite so much. But if it's really specific, like if you do X, Y, and Z, then Z is not going to happen. Then I'm going to say, okay, I ain't sure about that. But, you know, first of all, because I'm an anthropologist, you don't want to dismiss everything you hear straight off because you want to understand a little bit better about where it's coming from. And then the second thing is that in my experience, I have had what I believe to be communication with dead people, not in like my waking hours, but dreaming about dead people, right? But also in my grandmother's family, every time, like before they were about to die, they would say that their sisters or their mother visited them, right? Somebody coming for them to carry them across. And I don't discount that. I used to tell my Grammy, if you dream about your sisters, don't tell me.
You know what's crazy? Like I heard that my whole life, and I was like, oh yeah, no way, that's true. And I grew up with in a Christian context, so for me it's more like, oh, that's a demon, right?
Exactly.
Like my whole life, right? But I remember maybe 8 years, 10 years ago, I had a dream, this really specific dream about this guy that I kind of knew. He was like, we were cool, and he came to me and I was like, oh hey, hi, MCK. And I was like, it was really random. I don't even really dream lucid. And the next morning, I was told like he had passed away that night. So it was like, wow, like this thing I've been hearing about in my culture all these years that I sort of disprove myself or like dismiss myself. What could I say now? Like I actually dreamed about him. Could I say that as a spirit? It's hard to not.
Right. How will you know what it is, right?
Right, but it's hard to not think that when your Grammy and your grandparents have been saying this for years. It's just like now I experiencing it, But do you think if you had that exact same dream, but you were like, for instance, in a different culture in America and Europe or something like that you would attribute it to the same thing?
Probably, I wouldn't attribute it to the same thing. If I was raised in the USA or in Europe, I probably wouldn't attribute it to the same thing. But just because I don't attribute it to the same thing doesn't mean that something beyond the material isn't happening. It's just that they discount anything that is not able to be measured and studied physically, right? I guess, you asked what is the strangest thing? I would guess that the things that I would be the most suspicious of would be like, if I have a dream, this used to happen to me when I was a child. If you have a dream and then you go see somebody and they're like, tell me about your dream, child. And then they go and they get their dream book and they get the number. and then they play the number, I would be suspicious of that because, you know, dream books got different numbers, right? Yeah, but, you know, there are more things in heaven and earth than in our philosophy. So I guess for me, my question would be, all right, if it's really, really specific, and that goes across the board, right? If somebody says, oh, that eclipse, that means we are in the last days. There was an eclipse and there was an earthquake in New York, and that means Jesus is coming soon, right? Jesus has been coming all my life, and I'm older than you guys.
Right.
So the more specific something is like that, the more suspicious I am of it.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I think that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, so like getting into like I have a little short list of Bahamian superstitions here. Y'all can add to this. Obviously, there's the Chickcharney.
Classic.
Classic.
I have a story.
Top 5 Bahamian superstitions.
I have a story. Not my story. The story was told to me. Now, before I tell Grammy, I'm sorry if the people think you're crazy. I just telling the story as you told it. Now, either my grandmother was a very good storyteller or had a couple of screws loose. But growing up in Andros, she worked at Smaller Bay Lodge. Smaller Bay Lodge is a little small dive resort in the settlement of Smaller Bay. She was telling me one night, I worked there myself after high school. So what she explained to me, I kind of witnessed. Well, not witnessed, but I was able to see the layout of the land for myself. There's an area of the resort that's pitch black. There's no light on the path from the cabins to the main room. One night in housekeeping, she was making her way from one of the rooms back to the main office, and she said that she heard some rustling in the trees. Paid it no mind initially, kept walking, and then the rustling got louder and louder as she approached a particular set of trees. And she looked up with a flashlight, shone it out in the trees, and saw these bright red eyes shining back at her. Right? What she explained was exactly how the Chickcharney has been explained to us for years: half bird, half human, bright eyes, furry, feathery up top, furry down below, and like I said, either my grandmother had a couple of screws loose or was a very good storyteller, because I believed it as a child. I believed it.
Yeah.
Did she have a
Chickcharney, really?
Did she have a conversation with the Chickcharney, or she just saw the Chickcharney?
No, she saw it, and like when she shined the light, she said when she shone the light and saw the eyes, she just kept on walking. Right.
You know, all my family grew up in Nassau, so you know, all the beings except for the dead people kind of left Nassau a long time ago. There's plenty of spirit in it, sort of.
Yeah, we ain't got much over here like the Chickcharney.
No, we got plenty. You know, there was the Spirit House in Collins Avenue. I think it was that the haunted house. You all heard about that?
I think
my mom told me the story.
Yeah. I never witnessed it myself, but I read about it in the papers. I was too scared to go by to check it out. I have to tell you.
It actually made the news.
Yes,
this wasn't just stories shared amongst communities.
It was before. It was before TV, but it made the newspaper. People could not understand what was going on. It was like, you know, if I was in North America, I'd say it was like a poltergeist. It was things throwing and being thrown in that yard.
Wow.
Yeah, and people used to gather outside to watch it. Like I say, I was too.
So this wasn't a one-time occurrence?
No. It was in a specific period. Like it didn't last forever, but it was like about a month of activity where things would happen around this house. So much so that like you heard the information before it made it into the papers, but then it made it into the papers. And then
so where the spirit gone? Like he gone to make one or something? Like
nobody knows. Nobody knows.
What has happened after a while?
What actually happened? What you know, these things are shrouded in mystery. But it was a moment. Yes, I was the kind of person who used to feel. I can't say that I witnessed anything, but I used to feel things around me, right? So I wasn't going anywhere near no haunted house because I was like, I'm not carrying that home with me to my bedtime.
Oh yeah.
Wise decision. Wise decision.
So I did not go. So I cannot vouch for this for myself, but I can say that it was enough. It was well enough known for it to be in the papers.
Wow.
What else you got? What else you got on our list, man?
Obviously you dream about fish. What that mean?
What that means?
Baby on the way.
Someone pregnant. That's
Yeah.
what they say. I have no idea why. Like why fish and pregnancy. I don't know.
Oh, that's yeah.
What's the correlation? But that's
Mine was if
definitely-
anybody in our house. It was if anybody died. If you dream somebody died, somebody was pregnant.
Really.
Yeah.
I never
Right,
heard
yeah.
that one.
Death means birth if you
Yeah.
dream it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess yeah. When
But
you
then
think
the
about
flip
it.
to that, they were saying that weddings, if you dream of a wedding, then
Wedding,
you're
that's
gonna
a
attend a
funeral.
funeral.
Yes, a wedding is a funeral. Yeah.
It's trying to
And then
reverse.
there's the thing. If you have a mark on you, the death mark on your body.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I remember being so scared of that. My mommy would always be like, if any mark was on her body whatsoever, she'd be, oh, that's a death mark. And I would be, why would you say that to yourself
Right?
about
Did you-
yourself?
yeah.
But obviously she's still here. So, but I've heard of the death mark. Never let a woman buy you shoes. They walk out your life.
Shoes and watch. Yeah, shoes and watch. And your
Yeah.
time come then. Yeah.
Don't eat
Wow.
food from just anybody, because you
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
what is in that.
But I
You
hear
fix.
with that it is only activated if you
fix.
look them in the eye.
Say
Which
that again.
one? The food one?
Yeah, it is only like you got to eat it and look at them in the eye for it to activate.
Oh, you good, Jeremy? I ain't sure about that.
Hey,
I am not
you
sure
was
about
eating before we start recording. Where you eating from?
That's why I was eating with my eyes closed, man.
I just always full. What else is there's
You ever heard of the mermaids?
Yes.
yeah, mermaids.
Yes.
The mermaids.
That's
Yeah,
that one.
story.
Is that a Bahamian one?
Yeah, that's a bit. Well, when I was in Crooked Island, there was this guy who said, "Man, you got to come by the Blue Hole. There's a mermaid that hangs out by the Blue Hole, and you got to come see this mermaid." I was like, "No, I don't need to go see the mermaid." Right? But
So
yeah,
you can't be a witness. You can't tell
I
us.
cannot. No, I can't be the.
Oh, man.
I might have been the mermaid. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah. Depending on the guy, you might have been a mermaid for real. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
what
like I
story
said,
you have, Proof?
my grandmother was either an awesome storyteller or, and this one happened in her childhood days. So in her defense, she was a lot younger at the time. No kids. She said that one morning getting ready for school, there was this inland, like a fresh water lit inland. They had to go tote water for school. On the way to the well, her and her brothers, on the way to this watering pool, her and her brothers walked there early one morning. And in the distance, they saw what looked like a female sitting perched up in the middle of the inlet, right? And as she got closer with her brother, it dived in the water and she saw a tail. And that was that. This was in Orange Creek, Cat Island, by the way.
Mhm.
Oh well, it happened in Cat Island. It happened.
Yeah.
It happened. You know.
Yeah, this was Cat Island.
Yep.
You know what they
Wow.
say.
Yeah, I've never been Cat Island, by the way, but I hear things. I've heard things. There's also like, I don't know if there's a Bahamian one. Your palms itching when you're getting some money.
Oh yeah. Well, my grandma always used to say, if your foot itching, you can travel. If your hand itching, you can get some money.
Yeah.
If you put your purse on the floor,
never
you
heard
lose
of
money.
football.
Oh no! Don't put your purse on the floor.
I've seen so many people be like, "Oh no, get your purse off the floor."
Yeah.
For like my sister.
I
or
got
something.
riled to pieces for doing that one
I'm
time.
putting your mommy purse on the floor. Oh,
Oh.
man.
And that time I was like, you asked me to rest it down. I just putting it down. No. Wow.
Man, maybe I would have been rich. Maybe I had a
Yeah,
rich childhood and my mommy never
that
put
was
it.
a big one. My grandmother never. Well, neither of them. One of them was not superstitious.
Mhm.
She was very born again, but I'm
But
not.
she just
sure.
wasn't taking no chances.
She wasn't taking no chances. And the other one, you know, she
Doc-
definitely wasn't taking no chances.
Doc, the producer said I asked you about the woman walking with the baby.
I saw that. I don't know nothing about the woman walking with the baby and he lose her.
That sounds familiar, but I don't know the details.
Yeah,
of
it
how it is.
sounds familiar, but
You
yeah, I
would
don't
need
know.
to talk
I
to
don't know
somebody from
backstory to
Israel.
it.
Yeah, but we gotta get into some.
Are
Hopefully,
you supposed to pick her up? Oh, you're not.
Oh,
No,
you're
I
not
wouldn't pick up.
supposed to
I
pick
wouldn't
up.
pick up nobody. No,
Mm-mm.
boy, don't pick up no babies in the lucha, y'all.
no.
There's one apparently about tearing off a brown paper bag and putting it on a baby head to stop hiccups or something like that. Y'all ever remember
Oh,
that one?
no,
I
no.
have it. I have
I've
that, but
seen it and I don't understand.
yeah, I didn't
what
know.
is a piece of spitty brown paper on a baby forehead supposed to do? I never understood.
I definitely seen that before, but I don't know the science behind it. But
I don't think
Maybe.
there's
Is
any
there any
science
science behind it?
Yeah, I ain't sure about science.
I know.
What about when a grandparent died? They pass a baby back and forth over a coffin. Apparently, back in the day, is that a thing?
I don't know that that's a thing now, but I think that would have been a thing then. I know that. So I don't know if this is related to it, but I know that when people die, the people who still living in in the generations that come after them, they say their spirit fall upon them. And I witnessed that happen with my father when he died, with my grandmother when she died, my cousins, my brothers, my brother, people in my family started to take on characteristics of the dead person that I did not recall them having
Prior
before
to.
that person died.
Wow,
Mm.
that's like that would make a good movie or something.
That would make a good movie. Of course, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen before that, right? I
For
just don't
sure, yeah.
recall that they had those characteristics. But they start to look more like the dead person. They start to act more like the dead person. And my grandma always used to say, "So and so spirit fall upon you." So
Wow.
What's
Apparently,
your
our
take?
producer have another question about Uncle Lou falling in the well.
that's a song. I don't know what the story behind that is, but Uncle Lou fell in the well. Yeah, he fell in the well,
Yeah,
which is
we know
not
what
to be
happened, Uncle
confused
Lou.
with Annie the ghost in the well.
Okay.
Uncle Lou fall in the well because I believe he was drunk.
Mm-hmm.
That's the story, the backstory that I'm giving to Uncle Lou.
Uncle
Annie
was
was
There's
pushed.
also a song about Annie, the ghost in the
Annie
well,
is the
right?
ghost in the well. Annie was pushing the
Yeah.
well, and she
Mm.
died.
Okay. We
That's
know that
crazy.
one.
Yeah, and KB wrote a whole song about it, but that is
Right. That was
actual.
KB.
KB wrote the song, but there was a story before KB wrote the song.
Right.
Got it.
Okay. You had a question?
What's your take?
Jay?
Yeah. What's your take on? Sorry, Jake. 1 second. What's your
Very
take
good.
on Aubert, Doc?
Aubert is so. I'll give you the anthropological answer, and then I'll give you my general answer. So Aubert is a practice. It's a set of rituals and beliefs. It's a belief system that we brought over from Africa. So it is part of an African religious heritage. Now, from my own experience of Aubert, I grew up in Johnson Road, which is right on the edge of Fox Hill, right?
But
And when I was a child, you could drive through the whole of Johnson Road and the whole of Fox Hill, and you would see, we got beautiful fruit trees, particularly dilly, right? Well, in every dilly tree, there would be a bleach bottle or some kind of bottle hanging in that tree, and
Mhm.
nobody would touch that fruit because that tree was protected, because that bleach bottle or whatever had already been set and fixed by the Aubert man. So if you ate that fruit, your belly was going to swell up, and you were either going to be extremely uncomfortable or you were going to die.
Wow.
So that tree used to be full of fruits then.
Yeah. I mean, and you would see this regularly. I don't know when this stopped. When I stopped seeing this, probably I went away to college. I came back, and people were not doing it quite so much.
Yeah, because I think I recall seeing stuff like that too.
Yeah.
Like,
I
as a
think
kid.
I can recall seeing like a bottle hanging, yeah. But I never.
Yeah.
Never
Yeah.
paid it any mind, right?
Yeah, people used to put bottle in the tree all the time. It used to be like in my grandparents' time, it would have been a proper glass bottle. By the time I was growing up, it was a Blanco bleach bottle. People,
Yeah, the economy, they couldn't afford that glass no more. But yeah, like I could remember people, oh, don't touch that. And I never even really fully understood why. So
that tree would have been fixed. Yeah.
Obed does have like a really negative. It does get like I guess like it has a connotation of like evilness or wickedness attached to it. But is it necessarily that?
No, I don't think it is. I mean, I think that the the evilness and the wickedness comes from the fact that it's African, right? Like we tend to demonize everything that is African. The drum was demonized, Junkanoo was demonized. All these things are demonized as part of our colonial heritage. But it's simply a set of beliefs that came from West Africa. And even the word Obeah is a West African word meaning spiritual or healing sometimes or whatever.
Yeah, I
So
didn't know that either.
yeah.
Okay.
On that same note, though, considering we share so much of these superstitions with other Caribbean countries, wouldn't it then lead us to believe that these are more than just stories? Because the stories are so widespread that it can't just be a story.
They're part of what came across the Atlantic with the people who were ripped from their homelands, and so they have different manifestations and different completenesses in different areas, right? But I just heard a lecture where they were drawing parallels between like there's a superstition that attaches often to beautiful women, right? Like in the Bahamian context, there's the link with a beautiful woman in the Garland, right? The enchanted woman who turns into a bird at night. In Trinidad, they have the Sukuyan, who is a woman who also turns into a bird, but she'll suck your blood. And this character comes through again and again and again. A woman who's a shapeshifter. And so I'm an anthropologist, which means I deal with living things, not a folklorist. Folklorists will look at the tales and the stories that are told and trace them back to the source. All I can say is that there is a common root in African traditions that you could trace some of these characters and some of these beings back to.
Got it. All right, cool.
Yes. Just before we wrap up, I think it's important for us to like record Bahamian stories. I think the oral tradition is kind of dying off in some ways. So if possible, it'd be great if you could share maybe one or two Bahamian folklore that you do remember that you could share just for us to have on the record on Culture Quest. That'd be dope.
You want me to tell a whole story, or you want me to just talk about
you
characters?
could tell a short story.
You give us the trailer.
Yeah, give us a trailer.
Well, before I tell any particular story, let me just say that the characters, obviously, we have Babuki and Barabi, and Barabi is the smart one, and Babuki is the dummy. Barabi is always getting the better of Babuki. And then, if you want to talk about the Pan-Caribbean in Jamaica, that the equivalent of the rabbit is the spider, right? Anansi the spider.
Anansi, right.
Who has the same kind of experiences as Barabi. I mean, there's so many stories about Barabi, but I guess the one that I probably know the best, that I could probably tell really quickly, is how Barabi made Babuki his cart horse. Y'all know that story?
No, I don't know that one.
Don't ring a bell.
Okay, well, Babuki and Barabi, there was this beautiful woman in the settlement, and Babuki and Barabi both fell in love with her. And Babuki would go there all the time. And Babuki was better looking than Barabi. Barabi's a little rabbit. Babuki was, kind of, he's a goat. He had more, right? And so this gal was like into Babuki, and Barabi was a little jealous. And so this day, Barabi was like, "Buki, where you going?" Buki said, "I'm going to see my gal." And Robbie say, "Boy, I would love to go into town, but I really don't feel good. I don't feel good, Buki." And Buki was like, "Well, what happened?" And Robbie said, "I really don't know. I feel faint. I can't really walk very far. But Buki, you could help me out. Can I just ride on your back into town, please? Let me carry me into town because I just can't make it." So Babuki, being a nice character at heart, said, sure, Robbie, get on my back. So Barabi gets on Babuki's back, and Babuki starts to head towards town, and then Robbie is sort of like, "Oh, Babuki, I feel so cold. I don't know what it is. I get the chills. Can I use your jacket? Boogie says, sure, Robbie, anything you want. So he puts on the jacket. And then Robbie is like, oh my goodness, I can't hold on anymore, Boogie. You mind if we could stop and I could just like get something and I could put a saddle on you and I could put some reins on you so I could be more comfortable on the back of you, whatever. And Boogie was like, sure, Robbie, whatever. So they're getting close to the settlement now and coming close to the gal's house. And all of a sudden, Robbie sit up straight and he starts to whip Boogie and he like, gallop, gallop, gallop. And he passes the gal's house and he's like, hi.
Wow.
Now Boogie made Barabi made his cart horse.
Wow. So he's
horrible.
He come to the town looking fresh for it.
with all of Bookie's belongings.
With all
I never heard that one. I love that.
Yes.
That's funny as hell.
That's a good one for sure. Oh man. I mean, I we need to have you on to tell us a story every episode. I'm not the storyteller. Cookie is the storyteller. Cookie Allens. She's the one who has all the stories. Oh yeah. We look into that. I love that. I love I've always thought like we had the best stories. Like, I always appreciated them in like literature class and stuff like that. But you don't have them no more. You don't really I don't know them well enough to tell my little nieces and stuff like that.
Pass them down.
Yeah.
So on that note, Doc, we have a segment that we like to call Bring It Back.
Okay.
And I vote to bring storytelling back, like the good old days.
Good.
Let's bring it back.
I'd second that one.
I vote to bring it back.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
So,
it isn't all gone, you know. It ain't all gone. I mean, you have people like KB. People are putting it into songs now.
Right.
But in my generation, too, the best storytellers, besides the old people, were the Joneses. Like just to get a little bit of money to go get something, get a nice hit or whatever.
Yeah.
Them stories used to be off the chain, man. They were.
I
never had but a Joneses storytelling now.
They don't make the Joneses to see them no more.
No. I know they don't. No. The side who was still Jonesing.
Yeah.
They ain't much to them. The really good ones either came out of Jonesing or whatever, right?
Yeah, producers.
And they ain't patient. No.
Yeah, the Joneses ain't patient no more.
No, but I could tell you some stories from the 80s from Joneses that really. You're like, this.
Write a book.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Write a Johnson book. We would totally co-sign that.
I know, right?
We would co-sign it.
These Joneses ain't got no BGCSE, man.
Yeah, no, man. No. That's true. Some of the Joneses that we used to have degree and all, man. What you talking?
They was educated.
Educated, exactly.
All this new
age. Crack don't care who you is.
No, crack did not care.
Don't care who you is at all.
Did not.
Well, thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me, man. This was fun.
Yeah, that was totally fun. Appreciate it.
Y'all keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Take care.
Yeah, Culture Icon Awards. Y'all stay tuned for the next episode. We're gonna wrap up Culture Icon Award. I'll be very close to the final winner where we choose who's the Culture Icon of the year. So y'all stay out for that. Stay looking out for that. And until next time, link up.
Before we go, Doc, you might not have been here for the full awards, but if you just had to throw like a hat in the ring, I mean, you ready? You might be biased, but if you had to throw a hat in the ring for like a cultural icon, who would you pick?
I have to just pick one person?
Just one person.
I'll go with Cookie Allens.
As a cultural icon?
Yeah.
I'm out of that.
Oh, that's just one. That's one, and I could go for the next one. I could go with Fred Ferguson.
I'm out of that either.
Enlighten the people who know about Fred, man.
Yeah, let's just say we don't know who Fred is. Like, we don't have no idea. Some people.
Fred Ferguson is one of the founders of the group that became Bahamian. When Bahamian decided they were gonna, get more mainstream and less Bahamian, Fred was like, "I'm for that," and he left. And he has been working on maintaining and recovering and honoring Bahamian musical traditions ever since. He is the one person still around who could play Spence-style guitar, Joseph Spence-style guitar, and he does Joseph Spence-style rhyming. He could do what he calls the Ronnie Butler yuck, He's a guitar anyway. So that's Fred Ferguson. And then and then if you want another cultural icon, but nobody knows who he is because he's behind the scenes all the time, is my husband Philip Burrows, without whom I don't think we would have Bahamian theater as it is today.
Yeah.
So these people have to be living, or they could be dead too.
They can be anybody really. And I'm glad you gone.
They some top tier. Yeah, those are some top tier choices that you threw in the ring.
I'll leave them 3 right there for now.
Yeah, that's some top tier choices.
We appreciate that. All right. So yeah, until next time, y'all keep listening.
Thank you. In. All right, cool. All right, take care.
All right, Doc.
Thanks, Doc.